here with Lonely Planet travel writer for Taiwan and the author of a new comedy novel set in Taiwan called Spinning Karma. That's right. Hi, Joshua.
Hi, it's nice to see you again.
Yes, and you are now in Portland.
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
So I know that you've been staying in Taiwan for a long time. You write a
Mhm,
lot of travel tips for Taiwan. Do you
mhm.
miss being in Taiwan?
I miss being in Taiwan, especially because Taiwan is the only place on the planet where you can go eat hot pot, go to a restaurant, go to a coffee shop, meet up with your friends in a public place, go to a restaurant, anything that you can think of. So yes, I think it would not be an overstatement to say, yes, I do. I think that watching how people in Taiwan dealt with the pandemic has allowed me to help people in my own home country using that sort of the way that Taiwanese people deal with pandemic. It's allowed me to say, no, you really need to wear a mask, people. It's really important. Trust me, that's what the Taiwanese do, and they're doing fine.
So did you miss it so much that you had to write a novel set in Taiwan?
The novel, believe it or not, I started the novel as a screenplay in 2012. I brought it to three different Hollywood type people, and they were all like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is funny. There is no way that we will ever film a comedy that takes place in Taiwan that will get us blackballed from making money in China because it's a political comedy. And so I said, okay. And then one of them said, look, why don't you write it as a novel? It's really funny. Write it as a novel, then you don't have to worry about getting it filmed. But now, surprise, surprise, now Taiwan is super, super hot. So I think that it can be a film now.
So, what would you say is special about setting the comedy in Taiwan and also letting it be a political comedy, have a play on the US-China relationship too?
Up until about a year ago, probably because of the way that Taiwan has done a great job dealing with COVID, the only thing that Americans ever knew about Taiwan is, oh, Taiwan separated from China in 1949 and blah, 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 blah. The same thing they put at the end of every single, up until about a year ago, CNN article. So whenever I would write an article about Taiwan for foreign press, editor would always put that little there as if that's everything that happens in Taiwan hinges on that, and China has never stopped threatening to use force, as if that's the only thing people talk about, think about all the time, which is the furthest thing from the truth. That Taiwan is a normal place. It's a wonderful and weird place, and my travel writing, I've written about hundreds of weird, unusual places, but I also like the idea of using Taiwan as a normal, regular setting for a story where husband and wives have disputes and people argue with their bosses and regular, normal, everyday things happen because it's just a normal place setting, just like Portland or London or any other place. And I want to see more of that. And we are seeing so much more of that with Netflix shows and other films. And there's a zombie movie that just came out. I am dying to see it. I hope that it's on Netflix. Like, it's a zombie film. The zombies don't care about cross-strait relations. They're like zombies. They just want to eat people, and they're Taiwanese zombies, which is even cooler.
So yeah, you want to just let people know a little bit of, the society here, right? The culture here. And and it's also very much a part of you, right? Because you spent so much of
Sure.
your life here.
I've often said that Taiwan is where, and I think this is true for Westerners, it might be for other people, Taiwan is where people who had bad childhoods go for a do-over. So, and I've met a lot of expats, like, oh yeah, my family got divorced, and then, after college I moved to Taiwan, and then for the next 10 or 15 years they could be immature, teach English, or do fun stuff, and Taiwan people are super cool. It's like, yeah, it's 随便呢. I like to think that I had some of the best years of my life in Taiwan. I'm really grateful for the fact that when I lived in Taiwan, when I was in my 20s and 30s, it's like, oh, cool, I think I want to go live in Shinju. Oh, cool, I'm going to go there. I'll get a job and they'll hire me and then I'll live in a cool place. And oh, now I want to live in Taipei. I'm going to go there and get an apartment, and it's super, super easy. And I really like that life that I had. And I think that my novel has that sense of joie de vivre, the lightness and the comedy of life, because there's so much comedy in Taiwan.
There's so much comedy in Taiwan. Can you
There's a
describe that? What do you mean by
Um,
that?
People in Taiwan are very funny. Um, I mean, from the tourist point of view, it's like, oh, this is a town that has cats in it. That's the thing. Is you go there, get coffee, and they have a lot of cats there. Or this is a church that is shaped like a glass slipper. Like I've never seen that anywhere else, but Taiwan, have you? Um, you see people, you have garbage trucks that play Beethoven. It's For Elise. You have garbage trucks and recycling trucks that play music. This is not, and to Taiwan, people's like, oh, this is normal. This is just how it, but you don't have that anywhere else. Our garbage trucks don't play music here. I've never heard of any other country where the garbage trucks play music. Um, People in Taiwan generally tend to, and I think this has to do with Buddhism, and this is why the subtitle of my book, Spinning Karma, is a Buddhist comedy. This book couldn't take place anywhere else because Buddhism is such an ingrained part of Taiwanese society. And it's also a more joyful kind of Buddhism, a more happy kind of Buddhism. And I'll give you an example, and I've written articles about this. Have you ever been to like a temple in Japan, a Shinto temple?
No, I haven't.
It's very serious. It's very serious. You go to a Shinto temple in Japan, you walk, some places you don't take pictures, and you move, and it's very serious. In Taiwan, it's a temple. Oh, no, they're cooking up food outside, and the aunties are there hanging out because they want to hang out there. People are playing mahjong out there, and come on in and look at stuff, take pictures, sure, whatever. There is a certain joyfulness and colorfulness to Taiwan, and it's intertwined with Taiwanese Buddhism that you don't find in other places, and even in Buddhist countries that people go to visit. And I've traveled extensively in Japan, in Thailand, Laos, and a lot of other places where there's this somberness, which is cool. That's fine. But for a comedy about Buddhism, there is no place on the planet that I could have picked but Taiwan to set that in.
So would you say Taiwan basically does have a very relaxed and open vibe to it?
Taiwan has become more and more relaxed. I first went there in 1994, and so martial law had just ended. And I remember my father dropped me off. He brought me to the airport, and he said, Josh, listen, anybody asks you about Chiang Kai-shek, you just say, he's a very handsome man, and don't say anything else. Just say, he's a handsome man, because, my father said, that they very recently martial law, you don't want to get in trouble, don't say the wrong thing. And so when I went there in 1994, I have a story in my first book, Vignettes of Taiwan, about meeting up with a very traditional, he was a Chinese man. He was definitely a mainlander who apparently he wanted me to marry his daughter, even though we had just met that day. We did not wind up getting married. In fact, that was our first and last date. It wasn't even a date. But the father was talking to me, and he showed a picture of Chiang Kai-shek, and he said, and the daughter, I didn't speak Chinese, she said, my father wants to know what you think about General Chiang. And I said, oh, he is a very handsome man. Father said, okay, you're okay. You can come and see my daughter again. I did not see his daughter again because this scared me. But this is 1994, and even then, I was just teaching English and starting to talk to students. And as they started opening up, they were like, nah, we don't have to say that anymore. We don't believe that anymore. In fact, we even in a few years, we may have a president who is not even a part of that political party. You watch. And then I think it was 1999, 2000, when Abian is running for president, and he released, I don't know if anybody remembers this. I don't know if any of your audience is old enough to remember this. I'm an old man now. He released a CD of him singing and rapping. Does anybody remember that? And this is the man who is going to be the next president of Taiwan. He releases a CD of him singing and rapping. I wish I still had it. I lost my copy years ago. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't imagine any politician in America ever doing this. And 2000 to 2008, which I was in Taiwan for a lot of that time, I would come and I'd go, and I would just watch as it became more and more relaxed, and all of these old oppressive martial law era things just started falling by the wayside. And my feeling is that as this happened, the true soul of Taiwan, if you can say that there's such a thing, I don't know if such a thing exists, started saying like, hey, you know what? It was the longest martial law in the history of the world, this time when everybody had to always be on their guard all the time, what they say, what they think, what they feel. And I think that Taiwan was like, you know what? We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to let our hair down. See, that's my excuse. I haven't had a haircut in a year.
Yeah.
And now yeah, Taiwan is amazingly relaxed. And I think that the comedy has come out of that spirit, that relaxed sort of comedy. I would say that Taiwan could be the comedy center of Asia if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to
I
be.
agree. I agree. Well, I mean, it's so great that you set this great new comedy novel here. Tell me what you miss most about Taiwan.
There is this collective spirit in Taiwan, and I believe that that's one of the reasons that Taiwan has been so efficient at knocking out COVID, is that there's this collective spirit. Everybody, look, we all need to wear masks. We all need to do this. This is for the good of society, and it's for your own good, and it's for the good of society. Here in America, especially, we don't have that. We have it in some circles, in some places, but there are still people arguing about, oh, I don't want to wear a mask because it's not useful, or it's not going to help me, or why should I care? But I do think that Taiwan has a collective spirit of what is good for society is good for the individual. And that is especially when we're going through, this is the greatest crisis that the planet has gone through in almost 100 years, I think, maybe. And the fact that the collective spirit of Taiwan is showing the way out of this crisis, and everywhere else where they're still dickering about, oh, should I get vaccinated? Should I wear a mask? Is this even a real thing? We don't know. It is showing how powerful having that collective spirit of what is good for society is good for everyone. That is what I miss probably, which is why now, and I get on Taiwan Twitter all the time, and I'm always jealous. I'm like, oh, I went to the beach today. I went to the beach. So yeah, that, and obviously the food and stuff like that, but
I know you've traveled throughout Taiwan, and because you're a travel writer, is there any place that you miss? Any place in Taiwan, or any place you would recommend for us here? Because now all we can do is travel domestically.
and you know what? I wouldn't pick another place on the planet if I could only travel domestically. I'm getting emails from my Taiwanese friends who are like, oh, I just went to Guanziling. I never went to Guanziling before. And I'm like, I've been to Guanziling 8 times. I love Guanziling. Thank you for bringing that up, because I wrote an article for Topics magazine last year, and the article was about how Taiwan's tourism industry had been, by and large, saved by Taiwanese people and also members of Taiwan's expat community saying, you know what, I can't go to Thailand, can't go to Japan, can't go back to America, can't go back wherever. I'm going to explore Taiwan as much as I can. And so far, nobody that I know has said, oh, now I'm bored. I'm bored exploring Taiwan. And it's been a year. You've already seen, you've been all around the mountains, then go to Penghu. You've been around Penghu, go to Jinmen, go to Mazu.
I did take your advice from last time, or a tip you gave about going to Xiaoliuqiu, because you guys were so excited about that last time I interviewed you, and it is so beautiful.
Yep.
The sea turtles and the coastline.
Xiaoliuqiu is one of the places that I would live. If I could I could open up a B&B here, I would live there. It's beautiful. It's big enough that you don't get bored. There's like 85 temples there. I also miss the temples terribly. I miss the color, just the vibrancy of the color in Taiwan.
Have you been to Green Island?
Of course I've been to Green Island. There's
that's kind of my
no
next
place I haven't been.
wish on my wish list. How would you say is the best way to enjoy Green Island?
Get up early, get up before dawn, and ride your bicycle or your motor scooter to go out to the sunrise hot springs before the sun comes up, and then get so that you're sitting in that hot spring and watching the sun come up.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing.
Even if you're not an early riser, make sure that you do that.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And any travel tips in general about enjoying Taiwan? Any tip you can give us here, and for anyone who wants to travel around Taiwan?
This is my minimum, I think. You have to go to Xiaoliuqiu. You have to go to Green Islands. When you go to Green Islands, you need to visit the Human Rights Museum. And if you are someone who is sensitive or a psychic, when you go to that place, I feel that it is very healing because there are spirits there of the people who suffered so greatly there. And I think that when you visit there, if you can open up and let them know that it's okay, that they can leave this place or they can go home and that they won't be hurt anymore, it's important to do that. And I bring that up because when I went there the first time, I went into that building, it was before it was opened up, and I felt ghosts in there and I ran away. I was like, oh my God, I'm scary. And then I went in there another time and I was like, no, I talk a lot about this in my book, which I'll hold up again, my Dharma, the reason that I'm here, why did the spirits bring me here? And I was like, oh, there's something healing that I can do in here. And I sat and I actually went into one of the, it wasn't locked, but I went into one of the cells and I sat there and I actually felt myself talking with the spirits of the people who had died there, and it stopped being scary. And I was like, 你现在你可以回家，要回
What
家
did
可
you
以。
say? Oh, you
I
told them
said,
to come.
I said, my Chinese, I'm losing my Chinese,
Oh,
but
say it in English for
I
English.
said, I said, nobody can hurt you anymore.
Oh,
没有人的，他们不能伤害你。现在他们不能强迫你，就是住在这里。你要飞，你可以飞，在天空，你就可以飞。And I felt like this was a healing thing because there's this darkness there, and I think other people have done that too. I know that monks have gone there and Buddhist groups have gone there to try to cleanse it. It doesn't have that scary feeling about it. And I think that that's because of people doing this. So yeah, just to continue, Green Island for sure. If you can ride a bicycle around Taiwan, ride a bicycle around Taiwan. If don't do it, the best month to do that is honestly April, early May, March, or October, November, if you can schedule that. Ride around the island and don't shirk the West Coast. People are like, oh, the West Coast, that's where there's more pollution. The East Coast is more beautiful. The West Coast has a lot of really, really cool stuff. Go to small towns, talk to people, meet people. There is a temple, the Hell Temple. You know, it is in Tainan County, and it is a temple where it shows all the terrible things that can happen when you go to hell if you're a Taoist. And but it's really, really scary and cool. And it's like I forget the name of the place. I could scroll my phone and look on Twitter, but I've sent a bunch of people there and they're like, oh my God, I never knew about this place. It's in Tainan County. Of course, Tainan, I could spend months just walking around Tainan, just walking along those alleyways that, you know, were there when, you know, Koxinga came to Taiwan. They're that old. They're from the Ming Dynasty. Definitely Tainan is one of my favorite cities. If somebody asked me what's the one thing that you would want to do if you're like, and I have this is my plan, we're going to buy a house, but when I'm an old man, I will come back to Taiwan. I'll have like, you know, either be bald or have long hair, and I'll have like a stick because old men have sticks, you know, that's my plan. I'm like 53, so I'm planning way ahead. I'm talking like 30 years, you know, after I pay my mortgage, or probably before then I'll come back. And I like walking around in Taipei, in just the alleyways, just the neighborhoods. You asked me, why is Taiwan funny? Like, and you know, I use the word weird in the best way. I know that when I talk to Taiwan people, oh, 很奇怪, 很奇怪. And 奇怪 has this maybe not good meaning, but what, maybe 幽默, what's the, huh?
quirky?
Teach me how to say quirky in Taiwanese.
Oh, I don't know. I have to think about that.
and that's why, because 奇怪 has that bad, like, it's a little bit weird, but no, I mean like
调皮, like kind of fun and playful.
Fun and yes.
A little bit naughty, you know. I mean, a little bit, not in a bad way, but
yeah,
playful.
like a kindergarten kid naughty, not
Right,
like naughty.
right.
That's all over the place. And like, you know, when you walk around Portland, which is where I live now, people decorate their houses unusually around Christmas and around Halloween, but generally speaking, not all year round. But in Taiwan, people will decorate their spaces and their homes. And I can't tell you how many taxi cabs that I've gotten into. And I literally mean, I can't even remember how many, where there's something very unusual about this taxi driver. He has all little bobblehead dolls of like,
I see that.
yeah, like, but that's like an every week occurrence that some taxi driver who's got his taxi cab done in, oh, I really like Godzilla, so I've got 1,000 little Godzilla dolls. and enjoy the taxi ride. I'm going to get you from point A to point B, but enjoy my little world for the half an hour that you're in my taxi. There are so many people in Taiwan who want to invite you into their quirky little worlds for a little while. And then when you come out, you're like, wow, that was interesting. I've never had a boring day in Taiwan. And that is, no matter where you go, any town, any city, any village in Taiwan, you will see people like that. You will see places like that. People who make their living spaces an extension of their own very unique vibe.
Well, Joshua, it's been great talking with you about Taiwan. You write so many beautiful things about Taiwan, so many fun things, and congratulations on your latest book, Spinning Karma.
May I tell people where to buy the book? Because now it can be bought in Taiwan. It can be bought at Causeway Books, which, as you know, is a very important bookstore. So please do support them, Causeway Books. My publisher is Camphor Press. You can also order them online. If you're watching this not in Taiwan, you can order it from Camphor Press. It's also going to bookstores. My hope is that people read this book and that it helps to pay my mortgage, because I'm about to sign a 30-year mortgage. But also that people read this book and they're like, wow, Taiwan is a really interesting place. I want to go there. I don't know that they'll experience the things in this book because this is fiction, but if they want to know what's really there, they want to know where to go, they can buy, any Lonely Planet guide about Taiwan or Formosa Moon, or they can just write me an email and I'll let them know where to go.
Well, thank you so much. I've been speaking with the brilliant writer, Joshua Samuel Brown, the Lonely Planet writer for Taiwan, and he has a lot of great books about Taiwan. The latest is called Spinning Karma.